Oliver, and you're listening to 92.1 KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
Reconnect with friends on RTD. A new route is opening soon with Bus Rapid Transit Express service across Midtown Stockton from Franklin High to the DMV. Ride for free the first week of service from January 28th until February 3rd. Come hear all about it at the Children's Museum on Thursday, January 25th at 4 p.m. Visit sjrtd.com/express to learn about Midtown Corridor Route 47. The places you can go on RTD. Faster.
The places you can go on RTD.
And welcome to Stockton Alive with your host, the one and only Nate Knodt. Take it away, Nate.
Okay, we'll take it off with I have about 65% of my voice, but I suppose that's enough to get us through. I know my wife would probably be happy if I had 50% of my voice most of the time, and probably 70% less dialogue, but you know, that's the way radio. My pocket protector pens, and I think I have my, let's see, do I have my whiteout? Yes, I have my whiteout. So once again, we're ready for Stockton Alive with all of our high-tech information here. I didn't bring the World Almanac tonight, but that's because we're doing local information tonight. I do want to, we were talking briefly about this before we came on the air. I do want to mention there was a promotional announcement right before the show about the wonderful, exciting new RTD BRT Metro Express route that's going to operate the Midtown Corridor, which will be Route 47, which is going to operate between Franklin High School and the San Joaquin County WorkNet and DMV on Lincoln and Weber by the waterfront. Mm-hmm. However, we had to make a very painful last-minute decision to delay the start of that route until March 11th. So the promo that was just on here, which was everything was correct on there except the dates moved. It said there would be free rides, I believe, from something like January 28th to March 3rd. There'll still be a free week of free rides, but that will start March 11th. They also mentioned a big, huge public party at the Children's Museum, and they mentioned January 25th. That's now going to be March 1st. And there'll be a lot of luminaries and bands and marching bands and bus tours and all kinds of stuff happening that night. So people will definitely want to go to the Children's Museum on March 1st for the big, huge, wildly exciting celebration of the new bus rapid transit route, the Midtown Corridor, which I expect to be very successful. Having said that, that's not what our show is tonight.
Well, a lot of people don't know you put together that schedule at RTD.
That's
your day job.
That's true, and we're and probably the Thursday before March 11th. March 11th is a Sunday, but that March, I think that's something like March 8th, I believe. Let's see, 10, 9. Yeah, I believe it's March 8th. Would be, or no, I'm sorry, no. But the Monday, that would be March 5th. And of course, I actually am live right now. I haven't been on the air that many times in recent weeks because of just a whole multitude of things, like working on the restructuring and rescheduling of these routes, which is why I missed last Monday, and because of the holidays and Christmas and New Year's and a lot of other things. Unfortunately, I will miss a couple weeks because I'll be on a trip to Europe, which is very exciting. The first show I'm back, we'll obviously talk a little bit about that. But what I was going to say is, probably the Monday following the implementation, so we're probably talking Monday, March 12th, could be a major transportation episode here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so at least we'll talk about maybe the history of transit Stockton.
And plus, maybe we could talk also about your trip in Europe, because transit over there is kind of a...
It's spectacular. Yeah. I'll be in Frankfurt. I'll be in Rome and Frankfurt.
Wow.
Rome, Italy, and Frankfurt. We're going to take a day trip, too. Now I forgot where we're going to. I think it was Marseille, France, or something. We're going to take a train for one day to visit friends of my wife, my Peruvian beauty, Becky, has a former Peruvian friend who now lives in Paris, but we can't get to Paris on this trip, and she can't make it to Rome. It seems like we're going to split the difference, take a train to a midway point. Yeah, and I want to say Marseille, but I know Becky just told me, but I can't remember where it's going to be. So we'll have a lot of transportation. Unfortunately, most of the trip is flying.
Yeah.
In this particular case, for a combination of time and money. Although trains in Europe are very inexpensive, but she was trying to do the whole thing, try to book it all the way through by plane so you could get the multiple discounts.
Flying at SFO?
Yeah, and I think yes, and we're transferring. I don't know if we have to transfer. I think we have one stop in the U.S.
It's not bad.
I know the last time we went to Europe was back in 2002, and we flew from San Francisco to George H.W. Bush. I want to say Bush Intercontinental in Houston, where we either transferred or laid over. I can't remember which. And then we flew on that trip. Where did we? Now I forget which airport we flew to in Europe. I think it was Frankfurt, but I don't remember now. Frankfurt is one of the top. I should have had my World Almanac. I could have told you this. Frankfurt is one of the top airports in all of Europe and the world. Frankfurt, it's not a very exciting airport, though. It's actually kind of plain, but it's huge with a lot of flights. Virtually every airline of any magnitude goes in there, and every European airline goes in there. But, of course, as befits Europe, and I haven't seen it yet. Maybe this trip I can get a look at it. They have a full-size train station at the airport. I don't mean just a station where trains happen to go. I mean a full-size train station at the airport. You can go anywhere. You can land in Frankfurt and go anywhere the rest of Europe by train.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
That's right. Having said that, however, our show tonight, since we're coming out of the holidays, and then there's always this thing where you come out, people give money for the holidays and prop up the nonprofits and help feed people and all, Christmas turkeys, Thanksgiving turkeys, and then they hit this dead spell. So we at Stockton Alive are going to try to remember and reawaken people the fact that these nonprofits and social service agencies and agencies that help people are still out there in February, March, April, and all so forth. And they still need money. That usually the giving during tax after January or December 31st going to January 1st, of course, people don't necessarily give as much because they've given already to try to get their income tax deduction. And then they don't usually give much until Easter or somewhere around there. So we're going to bridge the gap right here tonight at Stockton Alive. So we're going to talk about some local agencies. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out there about this to our listening audience. We know our listening audience is very intelligent. We know that they'll understand this, but I still want to explain to them. I know as we go over this list, we're going to leave somebody's nonprofit off. We'll probably miss a big obvious one we should have mentioned. We may not always get the name exactly right, or we may have a challenge remembering who the executive director is or certain details. But I just want to remind our listening audience, KXVS is a true volunteer organization in which people come in for the sheer joy of broadcasting and trying to enlarge and educate the Stockton population about our great community. And what I'm really leading up to is, unlike MSNBC or Fox or CNN, we don't have a staff of about 12 researchers out there helping put these shows together. This is pretty much me and Dustin putting it on the best we can with the time that we have. This is all volunteer stuff here. But this is what makes KXVS such a great station, is that people with great concern and great care and great enjoyment and great affection for this community come in and spend their time to put shows together. And I know you've got a really great lineup of people here. We've got Betty, who was just on the air, who's quickly becoming an icon in Stockton for her civic activity and being on KXVS. But you've also got some luminaries like Tom Patty. You've got Jasmine Leak. You've got the gentleman who has the show on, I think it's weekends. Richard, I went blank on his
Slezak?
Yes, Richard Slezak, who's been active in the community for years and years and
Christina
years.
Fugazi does a show every month.
Fugazi,
her office hours to her.
I was going to mention her as being a frequent guest.
Yeah.
I did not know she had a show.
Yeah, once a month her office hours are held on air.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Every first Monday of the month. So
I think that's right. And I think that's one of the things that drew me to KXVS.
Yeah.
So I think that's wonderful. And I know you and the governor have it, or I won't reveal anything about it, but I know you and the governor are working on a big-time show to stimulate some intellectual thought about our government and governance in the United States and political issues and things like that.
Also, Dr. Julie Dameron-Brown has a show here every Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Yes, and we're going to mention one of her things here in this show.
Yeah, a lot of luminaries, local officials are part of KXVS, and that's what makes it great. They get to have their voice here in Stockton. They get to have a platform where they basically give their opinion and what they want to have out there in the city and around the county. Right, and they're not being paid to appear either. No, and no one's all volunteers. Money. Yeah, and there's no dedication to campaign funds or anything like that. So this is all 100% volunteer. So with the time that all of us have with our personal lives to put this thing together, we do the best we can. I just say that because I know every show
We write a bunch of things down and we try to talk about them, but we're always going to leave somebody out. And I know we're going to leave out a major nonprofit today somehow or other. And we're not just talking about nonprofits. We're just talking about, basically, this is a very open-ended show. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about organizations, would be a better word, that happen to help people in Stockton and promote quality of life. That's what we're talking about here. So not everything on here would be considered a true nonprofit. So with that having been said, let's jump in. The biggest and probably most well-known charity, for lack of a better word, that's been around for years and years and years and hit the big time about 1973 thanks to the NFL football is United Way. And, of course, we have that United Way's right downtown Stockton on the in a nicely remodeled building of about 12 or 13 years ago. Used to be the Western Title Guarantee office or something. It was vacant for many years, and United Way moved right into downtown, completely rebuilt the office. It's located downtown on Sutter and Main Street. It's an excellent place. And they are, of course, what the United Way does in most communities, and Stockton is no exception. They are probably the largest single fundraiser for charitable causes. They raise a lot of money. They get a lot of corporate money that comes in, and then they help distribute it. And through their paycheck deduction, they do a lot of through paycheck deductions. They are able to then distribute money on a regular basis at fairly large amounts to people who register with them to become eligible to receive it. And I just spilled half my coffee on my notes. That's even better. Now we're a real news organization. The only thing you're not seeing here that would have been common about 40 years ago is smoking. And 50 years ago, there might have been a little adult beverage involved too, but those days are long gone.
What's in that coffee, Nate?
Okay, well, not less black coffee than I started with, because about half of it's on my notepad. Okay, so anyway, you have the United Way, and they raise millions of dollars. I want to say it's like $3 million a year. I know you're busily researching this, that you might see what their projected goal is for this year. They always have a big thermometer thing on the building, and I want to say it's somewhere around $3 million or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So that's a big one that gets a lot of money that people can really count on and helps established people kind of predict what they can do from year to year and do some long-range planning. Now, one of the people that probably gets money from them, and one of my favorite, I guess I'll call this a charity too, but one of my favorite community organizations that does something with virtually no strings attached, no red tape, no technicalities. They just put it out there 3 times a day, 7 days a week. That's the St. Mary's Dining Hall. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, and United Way is, you've got it up there, and it's... Tell us who the CEO is.
Andy Prokop.
Yes, Andy Prokop, who I think might have been a Stocktonian of the Year a few years ago. In any event, he's been there many years, been very successful. Does it mention the goal for the annual fundraising this year?
I'll look that up in a second.
Yeah, when we get it, we'll find it. We'll tell you. Anyway, St. Mary's Dining Hall does a terrific job, and anybody can walk in there and sit down and have a meal. And they added, I want to say it's breakfast they added here not too long, or maybe it's lunch. They added, dinner. I'm sorry, they added dinner, I think it is. Anyway, they used to have 2 meals a day. Now it's 3. And I think that's spectacular. And I volunteered there on a Sunday one time, or Saturday, I forgot which. And what I wound up doing was preparing the chopped carrots and mixing them in with I think I did the tossed salad is what I did. I think I chopped up tomatoes, onions, olives, and something else, and then I was tossing them into the salad. Now, how that happens at St. Mary's Bar, they get about 10 to 12 volunteers who do all this prep work. Then, after the prep work, you go to the serving line. And this is very precise how they do this. They got trays that come down, they're separator trays, and they have, I want to say, 5 portions on the separator tray. And everybody has a special size serving scoop. And you scoop in, everyone has one job they do. Somebody will scoop the vegetables, somebody will scoop the mashed potatoes or something. Somebody else will scoop or put the meat on there or the main entree, whatever it is. And somebody will scoop another side dish, maybe pasta or something. And then somebody puts a bread roll on there. And I think the person puts a bread roll and probably puts the little butter patties on there. But they're very efficient and good at how they do it. It's very rewarding to volunteer there. But it's not, what I'm trying to get at is it's deadly serious. In a nice way, it's deadly serious too. I mean, these people, take great pride in putting out a great meal with excellent, well-cooked portions. It's fresh food. It is very healthy. It's well-balanced. I'm very impressed with what the St. Mary's Dining Hall does. I know it started something like 30 years ago in the basement of a church. And then, of course, the need was overwhelming. It finally grew into being its own place. I want to say they built the current St. Mary's Dining Hall in something like 85 or 92 or something. It's out on Lincoln Street near Sonora. It's also right near the homeless shelter. The homeless shelter and family shelter. I'm not calling it, probably it's the Stockton homeless shelter, which is primarily towards women and families, although some men, I believe, are there also. And that's just about a block and a half away. Obviously, there's a lot of synergy there between people in a homeless shelter and having a dining hall nearby. And they do a great job. They put a lot of work into keeping the place clean, having very attentive laundry service and things like that. So you just can't say enough about that. Now, there's other homeless shelters in Stockton too. That's the one I know the name of and I'm familiar with. There are others that exist. I can't think of them right now. There's also the women's, I want to say Women's Center of San Joaquin County, which is essentially a shelter for women and young kids. And that's to help women break free from not so great relationships and marriages and have a safe haven in order to reestablish themselves. Can't say enough about what they do. There's also the Gospel Rescue Center, which is on South San Joaquin, I want to say near Sonora. I know it's on San Joaquin. I don't remember the cross street. And they do a great job. And they're if I remember right, they're men only. And they also have, I want to say, 2 meals a day there. They have very strict rules there. And the idea there is to get people, first of all, get them kind of cleaned up, straightened out, help them reestablish some kind of normal living pattern, and then hopefully over time they can actually even go out and start looking for employment and things. That's as much as I know to say about that tonight, but I do know it's a very good place, and they work hard at what they do. They did just remodel it too. They've done a major remodeling there, and it did need it. It had gotten a little tired and run down over the many years. There's another, and then there's the Emergency Food Center, which of Stockton, San Joaquin, and I said center. I think I don't remember if it's Emergency Food Center or shelter now. But anyway, they give out what they do, and a lot of people don't exactly understand how this works. What they do is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and I think occasionally on weekends for holidays and some other special designated days. Every single day of the weekday, they give out a certain number of boxes of food. What they actually give out is a box of food that is an assortment of food, and a box goes to a residence or an address. It's considered a household. Now, that household may have 4 people, it may have 8, it may have 10. But what happens with the emergency food shelter is you give out 1 box of food to a specific address once a month. And I'm not quite sure how the people are scheduled. I used to know. I don't remember anymore. But so a particular residence or household tends to come in, I think, on about the same day and date of every month, if I remember right. And I want to say it's about 1,200. I want to say it's 1,200 residents a week get a box of food. Now, the reason I call it a box of food is because that's exactly what it is. It's not specific. It can change every day is why I want people to know. And it's a logistics miracle what they do. They have to basically figure out 1 or 2 days in advance about what their overall stock of food is, divided by about the number of people or households they think they're going to see the next day or the day after. And whatever's on hand, they have to mathematically kind of divide and split all that up and give out what is essentially about the same box to everybody. Again, it's per residence. It's not by the number of people, and it's not for a specific person. It's for an address that is qualified. And I don't remember exactly how they sign up for that. But in any event, it's remarkable what they do. And between them and a lot of other unofficial food programs that give out food, it keeps a lot of people from starving to death. And the people are extraordinarily grateful when they get a chance to get their food. Now, the emergency food bank, I said shelter and I said center. It's the emergency food bank. The emergency food bank, EFB, is located at 7 Scotts Street. Now, most people probably have no idea where 7 Scotts Street is. Well, that's why the Voice of Stockton, KXVS, is here, is to educate people on these things. So, this is where the emergency food bank is. They are located kind of like a little bit west and behind of the Amtrak station. So if you have no idea where this place is, there's 2 ways to find it. You could go down San Joaquin Street and then go about a block and a half due west of the Amtrak station, or, and this is how you're really supposed to do it, you can walk up the giant overpass that is Center Street, the one that's going south. And you can walk up to the top of literally the top of the overpass, and there's a spiral staircase that goes down, and that leads right to the emergency food bank. The emergency food bank is located at the bottom of the spiral staircase that's on Center Street. And as I say, you can get 1 box of food a month there. This is how I recall that it works. Unfortunately, they had a tragic death of the emergency food bank executive director just recently, and what apparently had something to do with an attempted break-in and robbery of a neighbor's home or something. But we'll just let it go at that. I don't want to say too much and have the wrong information or anything. But unfortunately, they did just lose the emergency food bank executive director in a very tragic circumstances. I want to say about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I believe it was right after Christmas. I don't remember if it was before or after New Year's. So and then there's one more I'll mention. I don't think I have exactly quite the right name, and I don't remember exactly the address, but I want to say it's something like the Breadbasket of Life is another nonprofit organization in Stockton that was set up to collect and distribute food free of charge to people as they need it. Oh, 2 more things about the emergency food bank. They have a mobile van or truck that goes out. They have a mobile food bank. And they have, I think it's 2 vans that can go out in the community and deliver meals to those who absolutely cannot make it because the people at that residence or address are totally disabled or something to that effect. And think senior citizens also. And they also do nutrition classes at the emergency food bank. They have a terrific dining room and kitchen there. And when booked in advance, they can do special cooking classes and nutrition classes. They not only try to help people get food, they try to show people how they should have their diet and eat their food. One of the sad things that happens to people who are either very poor and or homeless and or starving, or all 3 of those things, actually it's usually all 3, they'll collect money on the street and then go buy a McDonald's meal. Now, I'm not trying to knock McDonald's here. That's not exactly my point. Fast food, we all love fast food to an extent, so I'm not knocking fast food. But if you eat it day after day after day after day, that's all you eat, and it's not the healthiest thing in the world. You need some balance in your meals. But also, if you know how to prepare meals, it can actually be cheaper to prepare meals if you know how to do it. And the food bank does all this. They have the mobile food truck, and then they also have the nutrition classes at their emergency food bank center. And then another great organization is the Hospice Center of San Joaquin County, which built a beautiful center. I want to say it's about 10 or 11 years ago they built it now. It still looks brand new. It's been so beautifully built and maintained and designed. That is almost across the street from the University of the Pacific. It's actually just a little bit north of the Central Methodist Church, I want to say it's called, that's across the street from Pacific. And for years and years and years, that was a vacant piece of land where the overpass goes over the Calaveras River right there on Pacific Avenue. That was vacant land because at one time, railroad tracks used to come across right there that were actually headed towards the port of Stockton many, 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 many years ago, which, by the way, it was the Western Pacific Railroad that had that. That branch line was last operated, I think, about 1978 or 79. It was only totally abandoned and tore up about 15 years ago. even less maybe. Yeah, about 15 years ago. And then eventually, I guess the hospice was able to buy that property, or somebody deeded it to them or something. I'm not sure how they got it. And they built that beautiful hospice center there. And I've had people, I know many, many people who have been able to use the hospice center. What the hospice center primarily does is provide care for people who have very chronic and terminal type diseases, and usually seniors who wouldn't be able to help themselves. And for families that wouldn't have the financial resources to hire full-time care or be able to put them in a special type of environment where they would typically be paying thousands of dollars a month. So the hospice also does in-home care. And that's just a spectacular outfit. It does a great job, very humane. And again, that's located on Pacific Avenue, where the overpass is to the Calaveras River, on the east side of Pacific Avenue, a little bit north of the Central Methodist Church, the United Central Methodist Church. And that's a great organization. So those are the really big-time organizations that I'm very familiar with, that are basically large nonprofit organizations that serve literally thousands of people every month and are just of critical need to people. After this, we'll just start mentioning other things that come up. And again, I know I'm probably leaving out some really important big ones that I just can't think of tonight. Again, we have no research staffs here or anything. But my research staff is Dustin while he's engineering the show live. You know, there's a limit to what he can do looking things up while we're live on the air. He does a spectacular job of that, by the way. Eventually, I'm going to have to tip this guy some money for all the great work he does. Or
money.
At least buy him an A&W float or something. I don't know. Truck up to Lodi to the old original A&W drive-in and have an A&W root beer float.
We talked about that on our food show.
There you go. That's right. So I'm going to throw out some other names now. Another organization. This is one I don't think most people have heard of. It's a little bit smaller and limited in scope and size, but what it does is really spectacular. There's an organization, I want to say it's in its third year now. It's located in the heart of downtown Stockton. It's called Kelly's Angels. And I'd be surprised if somebody hadn't already talked about them on the air here.
They've been here before.
Oh, there you go. Kelly's Angels was founded by a young man who got tired of the corporate life and had had a tragedy in his family. And what Kelly's Angels is set up to do, and is completely supported by grants and donations, is they have a nice office space in the court tower in downtown Stockton, actually across the street from the United Way, by the way, located at the corner of Sutter and Main Street. And I want to say they're on the third floor. But in any event, what Kelly's Angels does is they do after-school tutoring. They set up all kinds of programs for young kids, and they set up field trips and activities. But the people they're serving primarily are young kids who have lost family members in tragic circumstances and who may not otherwise have role models or good experiences to be able to take advantage of or be able to do fun things. And the idea of Kelly's Angels is to give these kids immediately relief from whatever tragedy that was incurred and be able to do something that's fun, interesting, and gives them a chance to charge forward with their lives. So can you remember, like, the last time they were here, whose show they were on?
They were on Betty's show, I believe. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
The Betty that precedes us. The fast-becoming Stockton icon, Betty. Now, that's wonderful. And I went blank on the name of the gentleman who runs it, but I know him quite well. And RTD has donated a ticket. Well, I shouldn't exactly say. RTD has helped raise funds for bus fares to be donated to Kelly's Angels so they can take field trips. Okay, so then now put a plug in for one of my favorite places, community medical centers. And in Stockton, they have, I want to say, they're up to 5 clinics in Stockton alone. And, of course, my favorite one is the one downtown, which is known as the Channel Medical Center, which happens to have the same acronym, CMC, as the founding organization, Community. Well, I should say founding. The marketing name is Community Medical Centers. The actual corporate name is Agricultural Workers Health Outreach Centers. AWHC, I believe it is. What happened was they just had an anniversary event at the Stockton Memorial Civic Auditorium. And it was a huge event. And it had a lot of people there. Something like 700 people showed up on a Saturday night for dinner, dancing, and raffles and entertainment. In fact, I think Victor and Company was the band that played there. I want to say it's our 45th year. That event we went to was the 45th year. So they got a 50th anniversary coming. As it so happens, my Peruvian beauty, Becky, actually helped organize the 25th anniversary for CMC. CMC started with some volunteer doctors and dentists primarily, going out to agricultural workers' camps to allow our migrant farm workers to have some sort of medical care and treatment, or at least diagnosis. And the thought being is, first of all, these are human beings. Secondly, it's a very rigorous job. I mean, I don't think the average person understands how difficult these jobs are. Bending over and picking crops or whatever is being done in 105, 110 degree day for 8 to 10 or whatever hours they work in a field with only a minimal lunch break and a couple chances to get some water. And many of these people travel in a van maybe 30, 40, 50, 80 miles to get to the job. They may board a van at 4:30 in the morning, get to where they're going at 6 or 7, and they're out there picking crops at sunrise until sunset, essentially, and then traveling home. During the actual week that they work, it's pretty grueling, and I don't remember how many days a week they work. I want to say it's probably 6. In any event, agricultural workers' health outreach was established by volunteer doctors to go out and help these people be treated like the important human beings that they are, because they're picking our crops. Now, and not only are these people human beings and deserve some medical care, and we want them to be healthy, there's a practical common sense thing here. You want the people picking your crops to be reasonably healthy. That's just common sense. And then it sprung into the fact that they eventually decided to open up a clinic in Stockton. The original clinic was a relatively humble 2-story building, brick building, but kind of an elegant Victorian design on the front of it, by the way, the facade, located on San Joaquin Street between Weber and Channel. Actually located on San Joaquin Street just north of Channel, between Channel and Minor. That building was still used as the main, I want to say, dental office for CMC until, unfortunately, it sprung a leak in the basement about 4 years ago after they just spent quite a bit of money rebuilding the building, and they decided they just couldn't invest in that building anymore. However, you have the really large and just recently remodeled Channel Medical Center, which is 5 times larger than the building I just described, maybe more actually. Actually, it's on 3 levels, 1 subterranean level, 1 ground level, and another mezzanine level or something. That's located, like I said, on the Channel Medical Center, which is open 6 days a week, is located at Channel and Stanislaw in downtown Stockton. And then they have one on Waterloo, and they have one out at Woodbridge, and they have one on Hammer Lane. And then I'm missing one in there somewhere. There's another clinic that they have. I want to say South Stockton. Oh, well, they have one at one of the schools. I want to say it's King Elementary School, I believe it is a CMC clinic. I taught there at one time, by the way, King Elementary on Filbert Street near Main Street and near the Crosstown Freeway, way back in 92, 93.
A man of many jobs, Nate.
Yeah. Well, I've also been a truck driver for the Stockton Record and graveyard waiter at Denny's. I've done quite a few different things.
A Renaissance man, I think that's what they used to call it, right?
Renaissance, but of course, I used to be the voice of Chico State, as we mentioned about 1 million times on the show.
Go Wildcats.
The Wildcats. The cat is back.
Was that your signature call?
Well, no. I never really had a signature call. I tried to be fairly objective. I tried not to scream into the microphone.
Did you have a home run call?
Well, now the home run call, I kind of took a merger of several other ones, and we will get back to the
okay.
No, we'll mention it since you brought it up, and then we'll make sure we get back to the list here. Don't get sidetracked into sports like that. But the home run call was something would be something like, "There's a drive to deep left center field. The outfielder headed back on the warning track at the fence, looking up, and let's see. I'm trying to remember now. What did I say? And that's just what I used to say. You can forget it. She's gone. Many people said you can forget it. Some said she's gone. Al Michaels said she's gone. I think Vince Scully sometimes said she's gone.
I like See You Later. That one's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Kiss That Baby Goodbye.
Yeah. And then, of course, we all know that Russ Hodges were saying "Bye Bye Baby," and then Lon Simmons said "You Can Tell It Goodbye," which was the official theme for the final year of Candlestick Park. So anyway, mine was "You Can Forget It, She's Gone." It took me a moment to remember that. I haven't done play-by-play of a baseball game since about the summer of 1979.
Adios Pelotas, John Miller's.
Yeah, I never did a Spanish version of baseball.
What else was there?
John Miller's great at that. Yes.
What's Hawk Harrelson's famous line? You can put that one on the board.
Something like that. And then a guy named Bob Prince a guy named Rosie Ryan of the Pittsburgh Pirates said, "Look out, Minnie, here she comes," and they'd actually break a pane of glass in the broadcast booth. That's kind of maybe over the top a little bit.
Jolly Green Roger.
And then Bob Prince, I think, said, "You can call the doctor," or something if the opposing team hit a home run. So anyway,
Ernie Harwell's ones.
We always get into sports somehow because the two of us are sports broadcasters.
What did you think of
and we're public address. But getting back to my list here before we get carried away. See, we were on the Channel Medical Center and Community Medical Center. So to finish off what I was saying, they now have, I believe it's 16 clinics in 4 counties. And it's just a remarkable organization. Last thing I should mention, they truly charge upon ability to pay. And they don't do a lot of paperwork. You don't have to be bogged down with a ton of paperwork. And they'll help you do the paperwork. And yes, they have translators for Spanish and other languages. The main thing is you just go and you show them a few statements. If you have an income tax statement, I think you show them that. But you can show them utility bills. And so I think it's a couple months worth of paychecks, stubs, so they can get an average of what your take-home pay is. And then they build a bill around that. And you can be totally free. And it's all supported by, grants that they get and nonprofit, volunteer giving and donations. Remarkable that they have, it's real doctors with real medicines, real pharmacies. They do dental, they do eye care. And the newest clinic, well, all the clinics have state-of-the-art equipment. I mean, they're really good at what they do. So can't say enough about community medical centers. Now, there's also Delta Healthcare. That's a local organization. I don't know a lot to be able to describe them, but I know that they do a lot of this kind of healthcare too, where people who couldn't otherwise go to a regular doctor can go to Delta Healthcare, and they have some clinics around town. I think they might have 1 or 2 on school campuses. I believe that Edison's healthcare center is Delta Healthcare, which was established in the fall of 1993 when I started teaching at Edison, and they've since doubled the size of it. There's also the health plan of San Joaquin County. I don't know too much about them, but I believe the whole idea of the health plan of San Joaquin County is if you're a San Joaquin County resident, you can sign up and get health care that you might otherwise not be able to afford through a major provider like Blue Cross or Kaiser or something. And they're well established. They have their big building out on Hospital Road by Manthe Road, near Matthews Road, out by on the southeast corner of the hospital property. And then the next thing I wanted to mention, which is right across the street from them, literally on a street called Freedom Street or Freedom Avenue or Freedom Way that cuts through the county hospital, right across from the health plan of San Joaquin County is the VA clinic of Stockton. Now, unfortunately, it's not a 100% full-service clinic, as it's been famously mentioned many, many, many times in the Stockton Record and other newspapers and publications and tons of news stories and radio stories. Veterans from San Joaquin County have to go to Palo Alto to get big full-time treatment. And they have to endure a long van or shuttle trip or ride with their relatives. And oftentimes they have to incur the expense of staying overnight in a relatively expensive motel. However, as we know, it's several years overdue. There are now nearly finalized plans to build a VA clinic in Stockton, or I really technically should say French Camp, on a huge piece of property just north of the county hospital, near what is known as Weston Ranch, between Weston Ranch and the county hospital. And that's coming. I don't remember exactly. I think they talked about, if everything went right, that they might have groundbreaking in late, I want to say, summer of 2019 or the fall of 2019. It's getting pretty close. It's several years overdue, and it's kind of shameful that the Department of Veteran Affairs hasn't done a better job getting that online. That's always used in local political campaigns against one candidate or another, that they didn't do enough to get the clinic here. But basically, no local politician are to blame that I'm aware of. They've all done the best they could do. Both McNerney and Denham, as far as I know, have advocated as strongly as you can advocate, and with the state also. So that's that. And then, of course, I just mentioned you. And the VA center, there's not only a VA clinic out by the hospital, there's a VA center office in downtown Stockton that helps set up all these things, that is located on the corner of San Joaquin and Market Street. And so that's good that that's downtown. And then you have a newer organization, which I can't fully describe to you tonight, that is being developed at the county hospital. On the site, and the offices are at the county hospital, and it's called the Health Population Office of San Joaquin County Medical Service. We'll make sure we get the correct name in a future show. But it's something new, and they're setting up. What they're trying to do is market to people and provide transportation to get more people who would be eligible to come to the hospital to get treatment and get inexpensive treatment and medicines and prescriptions and things like that. And I'll do more about that next time around, because we'll have to do another show. Like we always promise our vast listening audience, we always have to have
There's always a part 2.
It has a part 2 because we never could ever quite cover everything in part 1.
And some shows part 3 and part 4.
And I guess we're
5.
down to approximately 10 or so minutes today, or
basically, yeah, 10 minutes away.
and I know we're not going to get to all of them.
Yeah, Nate has a curling match he has to go watch.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the most hilarious sports. I don't want to put it down because I know it takes great
I don't
skill.
even know how to commentate that. I'd be
know.
like, sweep, 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 sweep.
But it's all about, it's like
about the motion.
It's like a stone on ice version of shuffleboard.
Yes, it is.
And you're trying to place the stone in the highest point total square or round dot or whatever.
It's very popular in Canada also.
And if you don't get it there, then you gotta knock the other guy off of it.
Yeah.
You gotta locate it or whatever. It's hilarious. But you speed up or slow down the stone by skating ahead of it and sweeping the ice.
Speaking of Olympics, I'll give you an update real quick. I don't know if
okay.
you're a snowboarding fan, Nate, but 17-year-old Chloe Kim has just won the gold medal in the halfpipe for U.S.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now is that
98.5 on a run?
Wow.
On the halfpipe, yeah.
That's not one sport we've generally done all that well at, is it?
Yeah, halfpipe snowboarding.
we have, okay.
Yeah, yes, we have.
Is it bobsledding I'm thinking of?
Bobsledding, luge. This weekend we got the silver medal, the first time ever.
But I mean, is that like the first time we've got a medal in that sport?
Yes, it is.
That's what I
So,
thought.
yeah.
We've never generally done all that well at luge.
No.
And isn't luge the one man?
Yes, one man.
Or one woman, I guess, too.
It's on your back. Skeleton's the other one.
Those people are absolutely
where you're
insane
down.
and crazy, I might add. Because what speed are they going? Like 80 miles an hour?
Yeah, close to that. Yeah, basically more.
Just watching it is both breathtaking and scary and just almost more than I can handle watching it. The funny thing is, they all look fast to me, but then when they finish, they're 4 seconds off the mark. They're not going to qualify the next day. And it looks like they just flew around the track.
Yes.
Which, of course, they actually did. But the competition is so intense at the Olympics. And then downhill, the downhill skiing, where I want to say the giant slalom. Is that what it's called?
Alpine skiing.
Also, those people are also totally insane and crazy to be able to do what they're doing. I mean, if you split one of those things with your legs, I don't even know what you can do to yourself.
I'm a big fan of speed skating. Short track.
And speed skating is exhausting to watch, where they go around and around, and they're all muscle bound. They've been training for 10 years with weights and lifts and isometric exercises and all, just to get to the point where they can do that torturous oval skating at a certain speed. And the speed's pretty enormous too. They're going pretty fast on that ice. Okay, so let's see what else we got on here. Now, there's another relatively new organization in San Joaquin County. I can sort of define. They're kind of a public affairs, they kind of go to a lot of meetings, send a lot of letters out, and they try to make people accountable, I think is the best way to explain it. But I'm talking about the Title VI Environmental Justice Division or Department of the Stockton Catholic Diocese. It might be San Joaquin County also, I can't remember. I used to have a card where I could tell you the exact title, but I think it's part of Catholic Charities. And I think it's great what they do. They simply go to a lot of meetings and read a lot of legislation and look at a lot of proposed planning and transportation and housing, infrastructure. And what they primarily try to do is make sure that a reasonable or fair amount of the infrastructure or transportation or housing, whatever's being designed, planned for, and constructed, gets to all the people. Some percentage of it gets to all the people. That you don't have all this construction over here where people are rich and wealthy and nothing over here where they're poor and suffering. That's basically what they do. And that's actually what they do is somewhat mandated by Title VI federal regulations. And then, of course, there's all the thrift store. Now we're getting a little bit away from total nonprofits into things that have to do, they're still nonprofits, but they have to do with more money exchanging. You have the thrift stores, and I'm going to name a couple. I know I'm missing a ton of them here. But you've got the Goodwill thrift store, and you've got the Purple Heart. I think it's Veterans Purple Heart, maybe. Then Salvation Army. There's also other names for other thrift stores. There's also a thrift store that's done by the American Cancer Society, which I want to say is on Alpine. Mm-hmm. And that one's a little bit more upscale in the presentation.
Then here on the mile, we have the Humane Society.
Right, and I was going to mention...
Okay.
Now, when you say Humane Society, you talk about the Delta Humane Society?
Yes.
Yeah, I was getting there because our very own...
Julie Dameron
Brown is part of that.
Dr. Julie Dameron Brown.
Yes, Dr. Julie Brown. Dameron Brown, yes. I know, and she's done a lot of good fundraising. There's also a good friend of my Peruvian beauty, Becky, and mine named Tina Wells or Tina Lee is also, I think is now maybe their marketing director or something, or public affairs. Tina's been around Stockton doing all kinds of great stuff. Been a financial advisor, a lot of things, but she's now, I believe, is with the Delta Humane Society. Way back in 1967, we bought a little dog there, my family and I. It was an Australian Shepherd, actually. I think that's the only animal we've bought there. They recently, I want to say this was about a year and a half ago, and maybe the spring of 2017. No, actually, I think it was maybe the fall of 2016. I can't remember. They won a major competition by allowing. They managed to get, I forgot how many it was, but a remarkable number of people to come in and pick up pets and animals there. And because they were so successful in giving these animals away, they won a grant from a major philanthropic organization that I want to say was worth a significant amount of money. I don't know if you knew this or if Julie Dameron Brown has talked about this, but the Delta Humane Society almost closed up, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. They almost essentially ran out of money. The last I knew, they had they're actually located on Frontage Road 99 East, south of Mariposa Road, but I don't remember if that's where they're still located now or not. You mentioned the Miracle Mile. There's something on the Miracle Mile with the Delta. Is that the PAW?
Yes.
What's the name of it again?
Man, I forget the name of it all of a sudden.
PAW something. I know it's PAW something. Yeah, that's a great little store, and that's the Delta Humane Society's thrift store to raise money, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been there, and they had a grand opening like 3 months ago, 2 months ago. Yeah, wonderful place.
Nate, it's almost time to go.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Any last words before you go on your world tour?
Yeah, there's senior first. We'll save all the Europe stuff when I get back.
Okay.
There's the community centers like Stribley Community Center, Taft Community Center, Seaford Community Center, Senior Center at Oak Park. So many other. There's the heated swimming pool. I can't remember the name of the organization that does that right now. So we'll obviously have a part 2. Thanks as usual for helping us get through another show here where we could actually disseminate some great information. And the train, I believe, is now chugging out of the station.
Yep, and the departure time is set. Thank you for joining us tonight on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. For more details on the Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org for more information about us. Thank you for tuning in to Stockton Alive with your host, Nate Knodt. Any final words, Nate, before we go?
Have a great St. Patrick's Day.
We'll see you St. Patrick's Day, right?
Oh, that's right. We'll be back.
We'll be back in March.
I'm sorry, have a great President's Day. That's what I'm trying to say.
On KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. Good night. And thank you for joining us right here on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.